Tattoo artists are ridiculous. Do you judge people for the tattoos they want to get? If so, what was the one you really thought was stupid? I'm a welder. I have a co-worker with a Miller logo tattoo. Non-welders. This is the equivalent of an office worker getting a tattoo of the PowerPoint start screen. I love the analogy more than the story. I particularly enjoy watching the couples that come in and want each other's names or matching tattoos. They always seem like they just hate each other, lots of griping and bitching, low talking and indecisiveness. My husband and I got non-matching but coordinating, I guess, tattoos. They let us share our deposit because I'd used the artist before, but said they normally don't do that because so many couples come in to do matching tattoos and break up before their appointments, often months out at this shop, and proceed to harass the shop over which one gets to use the deposit. Not a tattoo guy, just a guy who scrubbed into a few amputations. I can't give specifics, but if you ever find yourself in a position where you are going to lose a limb and want to make sure you're getting the best dang medical treatment ever, tattoo something ridiculously stupid in that area. A lot of surgeons I've worked with try to just get through the day, but they will put in 110% if it means preserving a particularly stupid tattoo. Hey, there's a surprise LPT. So way back in the early 90s I was great friends with an artist and hung out at their shop a lot. The shop was in a seedy area, so we had a building in the parking lot of a shopping center that had a fun Mexican taqueria with pool tables, 2 really seedy adult strip clubs and a head shop and an adult theater. Yes, the clientele was, interesting. I've seen a girl get a sun tattooed around her butthole. I've watched girls and guys get genital piercings, but there were 2 standouts. One girl got the 6-inch to 12-inch portion of a ruler on her inner thigh, but this one guy would come by from the strip club. He was always quite drunk. He wanted a simple tattoo. He wanted a Nazi swastika with a hand shooting a bird in the middle. The artist refused and said, "We won't work on you if you're drunk." Repeat this every Friday night for like 6 weeks until finally the artist said, "Frick it, get in the seat." And he gave him exactly what he asked for. Charge him double. Cue the very next Friday and a very drunk and very angry guy shows up looking for a cover up. Nope. Frick right off. I wasn't there for this, but my artist told me a story. One of the only tattoos he ever refused to do was about this patchy creeper dude walking in the shop and asked for a tattoo of himself, naked, with clown makeup on, with a sock over his junk, standing next to a little girl crying on her knees. Probably the most terrible, uncomfortable proposition I could imagine. Dude is probably dead or in prison by now. That is seriously messed up. I wanted to get a potato on my ankle since I was a kid. I'm 34 now and I still want one. I had a tattoo artist flat out refuse because he thought it was stupid. I tried to explain the reference but he wouldn't listen, so I'm pretty sure there was judgment there. Rainy Tuesday, I was an apprentice. Only type of day that we would take walk-ins. Guy comes in and hems and haws over flash. Finally approaches the counter, eyes sparkling. "I want an olive." He got a green manzanilla olive, red pimento and all, the size of a baseball on his bicep. First and only tattoo. We asked why an olive. He said, "Well, I'm dating a woman named Olive. Sorta, but it's kinda going south. But that's okay. I really like olives." We judged him to be of less than average intelligence and taste, but no less awesome. I love olives and pimento and think this is a great idea, except for the part where it's gigantic. Also, thanks for describing his eyes sparkling. That gave me a good chuckle. Not a tattoo artist, but during a regrettable time in my life I hooked up with a guy who had make poop tattooed on his knuckles. 1 word on each hand. This wins out of all of the not an artist, but posts it. I had a guy message wanting a portrait of his son. His kid was about 4-5 years old in this picture, and he was putting his middle finger up and covering his mouth and nose with his hand. I thought it was different but showed some uniqueness to it, so fair enough. I agreed to do it. Before his appointment he asked if I could remove the hand. I explained I can't guess what his mouth and nose look like. He never got back to me with an alternative picture. That gave me a good laugh. Oh man, not a tattoo artist, but I've got a full back and 2 sleeves, so spent a lot of time at studios. Love asking this question from different artists. An exit sign above a guy's butt. He was sweating and shaking and stunk the whole time, and kept telling me it was because he's afraid of gay people. He didn't seem to get an exit is a place you go into. Turns out this was one of my better friends at the time, and everyone ridiculed him for the idea. He had a breakdown for around 3 days after getting it. Moral: joke tattoos are very rarely funny after the fact. Craig. A poorly drawn medieval battle scene from some historical battle that he wanted with all of the detail from his crappy drawing. I explained that the level of detail is impossible. Offered some suggestions. Customer refuses and complains the entire time about how long it's taking, how it looks, blah blah. About halfway through I'd had enough. Told the guy to get the frick out and gave him his money back. Moral: show your dang artist some respect. It's their passion and career to give you something that looks good. Stop forcing your crappy napkin drawing on them. Also, don't be a dong. Ally. Some girl got me to tattoo over a hickey she'd gotten from someone. Like, a big, purple and yellow bruise looking hickey. She would have been a young teenage but our store didn't refuse people. She wound up with this horrible purple yellow patch on her belly. Moral: if it seems like a good idea at the time, chill. Oh, a friend tattooed a red lobster on a guy. Now I've actually seen this one. The guy was super proud and was happy to have his photo shared around the studio I was getting work done at. 50 something guy. First ever tattoo. A bright red lobster. The tail starting at his pelvis and the body extending the full length of his shaft. Complete with legs wrapping around the shaft. Even tattooed the knob. Unfortunately I can't find any pictures but it was amazing. And ridiculous. Hilarious and stupid. The tattoo artist that did it judged the guy but in a light-hearted way and everyone thought it hilarious at the end of the day. Bonus favorite tattoo story. I read an interview with a musician talking about a fan getting his signature tattooed on her chest where he signed it. Showed him the next time they were in town. Dude looked at it and said, "Man, that ain't my signature. I must have been fricked up. Sorry." I was in the chair getting part of my sleeve done when one of the dudes came into the back room and told my tattooist that there was a young woman at the desk who wanted some stars tattooing on her arm. He sighed loudly and told the other guy to tell her that sorry but they'd run out of stars so no can do. Know a guy who has a rooster getting hung. Is it hung or hanged? On his lower leg calf. It's only so he can say my dong always hangs below my knee or some crap to cover up that he probably has a small dong. I have 2 stories. My boyfriend is the artist so I hear a lot of stories. The 2 that come up frequently about what tattoos he has judged at all are these. A woman comes in and wants an infinity symbol. Sure, easy enough. Except, she wants it made out of other smaller infinity symbols. The artist who did it died a little inside. This one my boyfriend did, and I was there for this one. A guy comes in wanting his girlfriend's name tattooed on him. Stupid, yet common. But he wants her name on his dong. Her name, Chastity. There is a guy walking around with Chastity on his dong. Also, the shop charges a $100 dong holding fee on top of what the tattoo would normal cost. I think $100 dong holding fee isn't enough. Hilarious. Not a tattoo artist and I don't judge him for it, but my dad wants to get a tattoo of a ruler down his arm. As in, a faint line every inch so he can measure things with it. That being said, I'm curious how y'all would react to someone asking for that tattoo. Utility tattoos. I've met a seamstress with a ruler tattooed on her forearm. To measure cloth, ribbon, whatever while she's working. I've also seen some crafters tradesmen with equations, formulas or conversion tables inked onto the back of their hands or forearms. I've always thought they were a neat idea. A girl I know got a tattoo of a ladybug. It wasn't a normal ladybug. It was a ladybug with a 5-inch long human dong going down her arm. So a buddy of mine is a traveling tattoo artist. He just travels the world and works as a guest artist at tattoo shops. So this time he's in Thailand and an older white couple comes in. Husband seems to have had a few drinks. Husband wants to have his wife's name tattooed on his genitals. My buddy straight up denies the request. Drunk, genitals, etc. But another artist decides to go through with it. Next day, the couple returns, but they are instead arguing on the way in. Apparently it was a "if you do it, I'll do it too" kind of agreement, but the wife wants no part of it. I'm so glad there are artists who deny you service if you are drunk. Clearly just got the idea a minute ago. I judged one girl hard when she came into dad's shop. She had just turned 18 the day before and wanted 3 tattoos at once. The first was a hand holding a cigarette, the second said something along the lines of no regrets in French, and the third was a lip print on her cheek. The irony was lost on nobody. The best part about this, as a French Canadian, is that no regrets quotes can only sound worse in French. My husband is a tattoo artist and he doesn't judge anyone unless they are being unreasonable. For example, you cannot expect a tiny tattoo with a ton of detail. It will blur together with time, and my husband cares about how his work will age. Some dude actually had his sister message him and aggressively ask why he refused his idea. People are dumb and they don't think about the big picture. Not an artist but worked the counter in a couple shops. Someone came in asking for a ghost, but like someone wearing a sheet over themselves type of ghost, without any of the human parts though, and she wants it filled in. We let her know that it is essentially going to look like a big black blob with the eventual ink blowout, and she adamantly disagrees, so we did it. Still wonder what that looks like now. Also, some 18-year-old girl came in wanting Prince $sign on her inner lip, which was pretty ratchet. We had a guy come in who wanted a pin-up girl on his arm, except he wanted the girl to be super fat. He then went on to talk about how much he loved fat chicks. At one point he looked at the owner's daughter, who was, I'm guessing, around 250 pounds, and said, sorry but you're too small for me. I like them heavy. After some back and forth we came up with a design he liked and we did business. As long as the artist had some creative license with what they were doing, they never actually judged. It was when they had to do that one flash butterfly again or barbed wire that they judged. And if that is what you really want, then cool. Just understand that at least 5 people in the immediate area have the exact same one. Okay, so this story is actually my brother's, but one night a pretty drunk dude came into the shop and wanted a tattoo on his arm of Tinkerbell. Okay, not so bad. And underneath it he wanted the world my little flirt. Again, a little strange but overall fine. And then, underneath that, he wanted his sister's name. They told him that they don't tattoo drunk people, so he left. During my apprenticeship I tattooed a kid who lost a bet. It was his friend's signature on his butt. That being said, I didn't really judge him for that. He was young and dumb. When it comes to judging clients, it's a lot less to do with the tattoo they're getting than how they behave in the chair and the kinds of things they say. But the butt tattoo was definitely the dumbest one I did. Back when my husband worked as a pisser, a kid walked in with his friends. He lost her bet and had to get the daddy tattooed on his butt. The tattoo artist said, don't go to prison. My roommate dated a girl who had always follow your heart, because even though it's on the left, it's always right. I don't think it gets worse than that. In this world of Cheerios, be a Fruit Loop. Actual tattoo on a girl who often sat in front of me in one of my classes. I think the font on Fruit Loop was Joker. Not an artist, but more of a LPT. I had a friend who loved dolphins. Had one tattooed on her lower pelvic hip bone area in her 20s. Then had 4 children and needed a cesarean section delivery. Her doctor made sure to tell her that he strategically placed his incision so her scar would look like a surfboard for her whale. LOL. I have a tattoo in the same area. Flower. First C-section doctor unnecessarily cut through it and didn't align right. Second doctor for C-section was appalled that the first doctor did the incision that big and butchered it. Second doctor and resident were champs and spent a lot of time and pride to make it look right again. The following day everyone that was in my surgery came in to see the tattoo. I remember an artist on here telling a story about how some guy wanted words on his dong so he could put words in your mouth. I don't know how any tattoo artist could hear that request without judging in some way. An old sailor I worked with in the Navy claimed to have a fish tattooed on his dong, so that the religious girls can have fish on Fridays. I used to really look up to my cousin, even though my whole family knew he was doing hard drugs, and I used to love his tattoos, and it may have even started me on mine. Anyways, saw him a year or 2 ago, and I realized those tattoos are freaking horrid. Like he has a butchered Beavis and Butthead, and the others are too numerous, but so bad. So when I was 19 I got my butt tattooed. It's a really fat, think round as a ball, dragon with dinky wing and derpy eyes eating a cookie. The artist, who's a friend of mine, looks at me and goes, I gotta be honest, This is one of the stupidest tattoos I've ever done. Don't get me wrong, it's gonna look great when I'm done, but still, you're idiot. I had to agree with him. 3 years later I love my dumbass dragon and have affectionately called him Sebastian Buttmunch. I have one regular tattooist I go to and he complains whenever he tattoos the crap you see in those dollar store tattoo books, but then says it's how you make the money. The people of the place where I come from are pretty homogeneous and their tastes are pretty much the same across the whole town. Not a tattoo artist, but I spoke with one and he said he rarely judges his clients' choices except for one. He told me this woman requested to have flies and maggots tattooed around her glory hole area. He didn't even want to ask her why. He just copied her drawing, took her money and she left. Like Bowser from Super Mario Bros. On a surfboard playing a double neck guitar wearing sunglasses on a pod leaf on a cross saying, "Happy birthday, Rick." My brother has huge Roman numerals on his calf that say 16.9. He doesn't tell anyone what it stands for because he is embarrassed. I, being his older sister, tell everyone what it's for. 16.9 is the fluid Oz in a standard bottle of Aquafina water. My brother really liked Aquafina when he was in high school and decided it would be his first tattoo. I judge the frick out of him. Oh my god. I was getting tattooed when an 18-year-old girl came in asking to get no fear inside of her lip before she went off to college. The artist told her if she wanted to get that in 6 months on a visit home that he would do it for free. This is why I love my shop. I know a girl who asked an artist to put lit on her lip. I know her. We're not friends. But the artist messed it up and put lip instead. I do honestly believe the artist knew exactly what he was doing. No more Regrettable jokes, please. I know the artist shouldn't have done that. I know it was a bad thing to do. About 2 years ago I was getting my first tattoo, and during a break after 3 hours or so me and my tattoo artist went outside to smoke and chat a little. Then this guy came at us and gave the artist a crumpled paper and he is like, "You got to tattoo this on my entire back," without any introduction. I watched as the artist folded the paper and it was a completely orange badly drawn woman sitting backwards while spreading her butt cheeks while she took a crap. I tried my best to not lose my crap, and so did my tattoo artist as he gently tried to explain to this dude that he isn't up for this, and neither is the others in that shop. Meanwhile that guy tries to convince him to do it and that he is willing to pay a lot of money for it. But eventually he left and my tattoo artist explained he gets at least 3 of these kind of people every 2 weeks or so and it wasn't even the worst design he hasn't seen. He probably lost a bet. As a tattooist I personally find it awkward when clients want memorial tattoos. Let me explain. I know everyone deals with grief in many ways. I can begin to imagine the process. But usually they want it focused on their death, the fact they have died, the date and sometimes the time, how they died, many other ways about the focus on the death. I try to persuade them that they should maybe celebrate their life, their memories, something nice that reminds them of them. I think it's less depressing for the client if they look at the tattoo and they're reminded of happy times rather than the worst time that's happened to them. Yeah, I get you. My track coach in high school had a tattoo of a fairy on her forearm to remember the life of one of her friends who had died. There was no name or date on it, and my coach had designed the fairy herself. I always thought that was pretty cool, that it meant more without focusing on the fact that the friend had died. My wife can read kanji. We were walking through Honolulu one day and a guy passes us with some big kanji characters on his chest. She starts laughing after he passed, because his tattoo said, approximately, "I'm a vegetable." We guess he wanted "I'm a vegetarian." I always ask this question to the tattoo artist that I have doing a piece for me. One responded that he had a guy who wanted a naked old man with an erection fighting a king cobra. Another tattoo artist, when I asked him the worst weirdest tattoo he's done, he joked describing the exact tattoo he was doing on me. I thought it was really professional how he didn't want to throw any of his clients under the bus. My sister wanted to get a memorial tattoo for our mother. Took her to a buddy shop to get it done. We went over all these different designs. He took a couple hours to draw and she finally settled on one she liked. Paid the deposit for her appointment and scheduled everything. Day after her appointment, I meet up with her to see it. She told me she bailed out. According to her, he wanted too much to do it, even though he gave her a huge discount and fit her into his busy shop schedule. He offered to return the deposit, but I declined due to embarrassment. Well, she ended up getting inked by some drunk dude she was hanging out with. He scratched her up and naturally the whole thing looked like a middle schooler's notebook doodle. The worst part, besides the tat, was that she had screenshots of my buddy's design and credited him on FB with a pic of her very crappy infected tat. He asked her to remove the tag and she flipped out and started trashing him and anyone who spoke negatively of mom's tattoo. She still thinks my friend tried to rip her off. She's done this to other tattoo artists and is constantly trying to get work for cheap or free. Obviously she is covered in really bad white trash clip art tattoos. I feel really sorry for any true artist that ever has to deal with her. I'm a tattoo artist and I've had some interesting requests over the years. Some of them are creepy. Doesn't help that I'm a lady, like the guy who wanted a back piece of him in bondage gear with a woman whipping him and would talk to nobody but me about it. Luckily at that time I was an apprentice and told him several times I wouldn't be tattooing for many months yet. Eventually he bugged off. Once I tattooed a straight black line on the top of some guy's head. He was maybe in his late 40s. Seemed perfectly sane, in good health and completely normal. He had a very tiny and long healed scar right where he wanted the tattoo, right alongside it. I questioned him for almost 40 minutes while I hemmed and hawed about whether or not I should turn it down. In the end, he convinced me he really did want this tattoo and so I did it, even though it still kinda trips me out to this day. He had no other tattoos. Most recently, at a previous shop I was at last year, I fielded a phone call for a really weird request. The guy opened the phone call by saying he had already been turned down by several other local shops, which is definitely a red flag. He asked if I would tattoo a stack of bricks on him. I actually took a moment to process that and asked him to repeat himself. He did. It didn't make more sense the second time. I told him I was not comfortable doing that, apologized, and we ended the call peacefully. He sounded disappointed but just, no, number, don't want your dealer money pal. The dude with the line down his head may have had a craniotomy for some reason and wanted to remember that he beat whatever it was that caused him to have that procedure. To me, the scar is plenty reminder but IDK, to each their own. Do tattooists feel any responsibility or qualms about doing insane tats like something bizarre on their faces? I have a cousin that is half Jordanian that was brought back by her mom when she was 12. Absolute wild woman covers in tats and is a tattooist herself. She shaved her head and had a bomb tatted on one side because everyone jokes she is a terrorist. Can't speak for everyone but the tattoo artists I know and have gotten work from have a hardline policy against face and hand tattoos on anyone who isn't already tatted up. Not a tattoo artist, but I've seen a few horrible tattoos. I was stationed at Fort Gordon for a short period of time and two of the other guys in my platoon were betting against each other and the loser had to get a tattoo. Nothing overly gross or obscene was the only rule if I recall correctly. Standing in formation a few days later and a drill sergeant tells one of the two to walk in front of the whole formation and show off his new work. Dude marches out front, pulls his shirt up and turns around. Staring me in the face is a full back-size tattoo of Sid the Sloth from Ice Age. Not just Sid the Sloth, but Sid the Sloth in baggy pants, wearing a gold necklace and throwing out gang signs. Not an artist but I got a singular ravioli tattooed on my side. I'm a regular at my tattoo artist shop but I'm pretty sure he judged me for that one. I don't judge people for the tattoos they want to get. Sometimes I just don't understand it, really. I just chalk it up to different life experiences and taste. A lot of tattooers talk crap on normal people for getting common themes they pulled off Google, infinity symbol, mandalas, feather exploding into birds, various trendy stuff. But I often don't see these tattooers offering the people an alternative or trying to show them something that's maybe more timeless or unique. I had an artist say frickle that, it's your skin and you get to do whatever you like with it. Good guy, great artist. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.